Hey everybody, this is Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Red State dated September 8th. So it's probably going to be at least a week from the time this came out before it's posted. But in any case, as blistering House GOP report on Afghanistan withdrawal concludes Biden ignored advisors and lied to America. And I didn't know that there was a Hanna-Barbera Chuck Norris cartoon that was ever made, but okay, now I do. Anyway, let's get back to the article. It says, the House Foreign Affairs Committee's more than 2-year investigation into the deadly Afghanistan withdrawal orchestrated by Biden-Harris was released in part Sunday, and the conclusions are devastating. The president was hell-bent on getting American troops out at any cost, ignored his own advisors, lied to the public, and took highly dangerous and highly unacceptable risks. The full report is expected Monday. When was the 8th? Let me just check here. Instead of thinking about when it was, because I can't math properly, it was Sunday. Okay, so it was expected this past Monday, because I'm recording this a few days after this. So, all right, let's just go ahead and see what it says. The committee didn't mince words in its conclusion. It says, during his decades-long tenure as a Delaware U.S. Senator, 8 years as Vice President of the United States, and nearly 4 years as President, Mr. Biden has demonstrated distrust of America's military experts and advisors and has prioritized politics and his personal legacy over America's national security interests, the roughly 350-page report asserted. And Congressman Mike Lawler, who I believe was on that committee, says the House Foreign Affairs Committee is getting to the bottom of the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, and the decision to remove all troops regardless of conditions being met was reckless and deadly, and people deserve to know what happened and will learn more in tomorrow's report. And here's from when that happened, with all the people trying to they wanted to be saved, and Biden basically was like, F you. So Biden and Harris have tried to blame Trump for the debacle, which cost 13 American service members their lives and left many more injured, claiming that the Doha agreement that the Trump administration had reached with the Taliban regarding withdrawal dates tied to their hands. The problem with the argument is that Biden had previously shown little deference to the agreement, and some in Biden's own administration argued that the Taliban was violating the terms, making it invalid. Oops. According to the report, the Doha agreement was just an excuse anyway. Biden wanted so badly to end the war that he ignored the advice of his most senior advisors and stuck his finger in the eyes of our NATO allies. Not surprising. Everybody said about Joe Biden that he doesn't know what he's doing foreign policy-wise at all, like he's never been right about anything. And, well, here's another thing. So, Biden made the decision to pull out entirely despite nearly every military official advising against it, the document said. So, despite President Biden's public assertions to the contrary, our investigation has revealed the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Commander of U.S. Central Command, the Secretary of State, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and the Commander of NATO's Resolute Support Mission and United States Forces, Afghanistan, all advised against withdrawing all U.S. troops from the country, both during and after the interagency review, the report said. So basically every single high-level person that could have told him, don't do this, said that, and he just went, whatever. So the Harris-Biden administration also ignored the international community's concerns, barreling past the objections of other NATO nations that deployed to Afghanistan in support of the U.S. It says there is much more in the report, I'm sure. It's 350 pages. That's not going to be covered in one article from one website. And Red State will continue to analyze the committee's findings when the full version is released Monday. In the meantime, there's already much teeth gnashing from the left, with the New York Times fretting that the report is politically timed to affect the presidential election, and that Republicans tried to tie Kamala Harris's name to the disaster without evidence. Yeah, except one problem, there is evidence, like her actually saying that she was totally fine with it and had no regrets over it. And the New York Times, they'll fret about it if it was going to hurt their side, but if this is something like if Trump was in office and it was going to hurt him, they wouldn't say a thing about it. They'd be like, no, it's totally cool. So go F yourself, New York Times. So Byron Donalds, who I like, says Kamala's avoided scrutiny by design for 48 days. In 72 hours, her real record will be exposed, and she wants to hide her key role in the failed Afghanistan withdrawal. She was the last one in the room. She was comfortable with it. Her team knows this is bad. Don't fall for the spin. The lines here where it says she was the last one in the room and she was comfortable with it. She is specifically asked that by the interviewer here, and those are her words. So you can go ahead and listen to it. The article is linked below. And then Greg Price, good follow on X, says they just released, their thing blaming Donald Trump, for the Afghanistan withdrawal that was conducted 7 months after he left office. It was not Trump's fault. And this is administration. These folks do not take responsibility for anything. Jesus Christ. Grow a goddamn spine. The chairman, Mike McCall, appeared on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday to rebut the charge that the timing was politically motivated. He argued that it's taken them 2 years to complete the report because they've encountered obstruction every step of the way, which is not surprising to me. And that's just him saying that there. Though I have heard there's a guy that writes, this guy named Jerry Dunleavy. I have his book that he wrote about the Afghanistan withdrawal, but he was on the investigative team here, and he said that they couldn't even get to the bottom of what was going on, partly because of Rep. McCall here. So who knows what else is going to come out. I'm not going to read that book until I go on my next vacation in a few months. It's my airline book that I'm going to read. But I'm very curious to see what it says, and we'll get around to it. But still, I'm not surprised about the obstruction going on. It says, regardless of this timing, this is the Biden-Harris legacy, and no amount of spin is going to change that. Yeah, I mean, it's their fault. They did it. Kamala, in this interview here, says she was the last one in the room and she was comfortable with having or getting 13 of our servicemen murdered. So what do you think about that, folks? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.